talking about my art practice in English, and then switching to Italian would be very confusing for me, especially because there are like many more articulate ways in which you can like talk in Italian about a certain topic. So it was a little bit weird at the beginning to switch between the two.
Yeah.
But now I think it's better. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Italian you feel like also more comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's like the same now.
Oh,
maybe.
that's good. That's good.
Maybe,
I'm
I
not
don't
there.
know.
I'm not there in Spanish. I think because I feel like also the type of talks I have, I think like is more in English, like this kind of art talks and blah blah blah, and like discussions between friends and. But it's interesting because when I speak Spanish, I feel like I have to simplify a bit more because my language is not so. I haven't read so much in Spanish.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of simplify.
I understand it completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Giulia. I'd say, if you like to introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Giulia Parlato. I'm a visual artist. I work mainly with photography in a very traditional way, I would say, and with video sometimes. I've been living in the UK for the past 11 years. I studied here. I did a BA in LCC, London College of Communication, graduated in 2016. Then I did an MA at the Royal College of Art in 2019. And I mainly take pictures. But when I'm not taking pictures, I also work as a creative retoucher for fashion. And
Nice. That's really good. Like, I was thinking we'll get into it, but your projects that you're known for. I mean, my understanding is that they look at history and particularly museums or the way history is kind of presented. No?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's right. Yeah. No, sorry, I was looking at like a spider behind you. This is why I go.
It's okay.
But yeah, that's perfect.
It's fine. What I'm interested is because when I was doing research about you, I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of doing also this kind of organization of your history, or again, like the same way you explain your bio is a way of. Do you see what I mean?
Like telling.
Like a very clean narrative.
Of,
for example, who Giulia is. I'd say I'm interested to going kind of a bit back and forth, but especially kind of starting. How would you describe what do your projects look at?
So overall, I would say that what interests me the most is the relationship that we all have with past events, and how something that happened in the past is something that we can't completely experience in the present. So we use storytelling to try and explain what happened, and this happens in with history, but also with crime scenes, for instance, or with in history, like in particular, also with archaeology, and how we try to put together a lot of like little traces and evidence of different kind to glue up something that makes sense and that looks like a linear narrative. So if I would have to explain it in a sentence, I think my practice mainly looks at our impossibility to really unveil this past. And so I'm interested a lot in the concept of, for example, invisibility and what's outside of an image rather than what's inside an image.
Okay.
So, more or less this is what I'm interested in.
I'm interested. Well, you were talking about. You mentioned crimes and what's the other one? Archaeology.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So I think what's interesting about this way of using photography is that when you're photographing a crime scene, in a way you are photographing a landscape that has been like a, how do you say, like a testimony, or
Okay, yeah, like evidence.
Yes, you're photographing like a place where something has happened, and you're looking at these traces, to find a solution for something that you don't know.
Like a puzzle.
Like a puzzle. So, and I think it's the same in archaeology. So I think the two things are quite close to one another, even though they are completely different.
Maybe one is way older. No,
Yeah.
So archaeology is about like things that they're so far away, but it is about, I see what you mean. It's like putting together stories.
Yeah, putting
like,
together
okay,
stories.
we saw this and we see this other, like this bone and then this other thing. So therefore, you have to do like a theory.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like a story.
Yeah.
And well, actually, that's why I'm curious. And maybe this is a weird question. You tell me. Because I was thinking, okay, well, if this is a museum, no, and I was doing this kind of research on you and stuff. I was like, what would be for you if you were in a museum of Giulia? Maybe. What would be the first, would you say, like object in that you say you'd put? This is a weird question.
In my museum.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird question, but it's an interesting question. I guess the first thing that would be there would probably be maybe it would be a fragment of the first house where I lived in with my parents, like other architectural fragments.
An architectural fragment
of that place.
What do you mean? Do you mean like the structure of it? Or
like a piece of roof or a piece of I don't know, like door or something like that.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
And what would be the accompanying text?
Maybe the address of the house.
Okay, so very factual.
Yeah.
Interesting, because you grew up in Sicily.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So this would be a house in Palermo?
Yeah, it's a house in Palermo. Yeah.
Nice. And how was it growing up? Would you say you've been influenced from childhood to kind of this artistic path?
No, I think it was influenced because my parents are both architects, so they used to take us to a lot of archaeological sites and museums and like just old buildings in general, and they were always quite open about what I wanted, like with me, like what I wanted to do in the future and stuff. So I was always able to do all the things that, like all the artistic, like kind of hobbies that I wanted, which is nice. And then I think like one of the people that I always looked up to in my family was always my mom's brother, my uncle, because he was always like the arty one of the family in a way, because he's a director and screen writer.
Okay, like film.
Yeah. And we always had like a close relationship, and he always like kind of not pushed but encouraged me to study something to do with art, and so yeah. Nice.
Well, I mean, do you feel like at school it was similar? So do you feel like there was encouragement from, because for example for me, I don't think in school we did much of anything creative.
I went to a classical high school, so no, it wasn't very creative in terms of like practical ways of being creative. But there were a lot of things that I studied that I think influenced the way in which I think now, which is nice, I guess. But yeah, as you probably imagine, like it's quite rigid in Italy, the education system.
Yeah, and actually that's why I find interesting that I think I read an interview and you mentioned that you had camera lucida. Is that the book that you would go to? You read that in high school?
Yeah.
Because the camera, how do you say it? Camera lucida, camera lucida. I don't know how it's called.
Camera chiara.
Yeah. How do you find that? Because I find it so interesting that you were reading that in the sense of like I thought it was quite a thick book to read. So
That
like
really.
in words, I don't know, like thinking like
I think someone suggested it to me at some point because I did towards the end of the high school. I did like a photography course in Palermo. Yeah, I think they just suggested it to me and I started reading it and it was nice. So
yeah.
yeah.
Is the well? In case I'm just gonna clarify, in case someone doesn't know, it's Camera Lucida or Lucida. I don't know how to say. It's by Roland Barthes, I think so. And so you came to. After that, you came to the UK. So was it before? So when you were reading this book, do you already know
Yeah.
you were gonna go?
Yeah. I knew that I was gonna go. I knew I was gonna become like a fashion photographer.
Okay.
Which I didn't, but I think it's because when I was in Palermo, the only nice like kind of photography that you could I don't know how to say, like the mainstream ways of experiencing like photography was through mainly I think fashion magazines, because we didn't have a lot of nice exhibitions, or the only good exhibition that we had were just about either like dead people or very
Okay, like old dead photographers.
yeah,
It's not like an exhibition of
no,
dead
just
people.
like
Okay.
exhibition of very like old photographers, or exhibitions of very renowned like Sicilian photographers like Enzo Brai or Letizia Battaglia. So my understanding of photography was zero. So I was just like buying Vogue, Elle, all these magazines, and I was discovering like Steven Meisel, Tim Walker, all these people. So I was like, wow, fashion photography is the future.
It's the thing.
And then but so then I moved to London, and I started with this like foundation course that was like a course in Camberwell I did for 1 year, which was kind of a shock because it was just about being practical and just like trying out things, and it wasn't just like photography. It was at first like art, and so painting, sculpture, and it was just about you like buying materials and doing things. And I was like, where are the books? Why are we not studying with like a book? I don't understand this.
You mean because
Also,
coming from Italy?
From Italy, which
in
was
Spain we have the same.
completely different. I thought, oh my god, this is like I'm not good at this, because I'm not good manually at making stuff, you know. But then so then after this year I then started the BA, and I think like the whole thing, like throughout the foundation course and the BA, it was a bit of a struggle for me, because first of all, my English wasn't good at all.
I mean, for all of us at the beginning.
It was a disaster at the beginning. It was really annoying that I couldn't understand everything, like sitting through lectures that I couldn't understand like fully what the tutor was saying at the beginning. And then everyone looked super cool, like everyone from other countries, you know, like doing their thing, and I felt I was completely how do you say, like out of context. Out of context. So for me the BA, it was a very important experience, because I learned a lot of things and I tried out many things that I didn't know how to do before, and I learned a lot about like the history of photography. But it was a very I felt very uncomfortable throughout the whole experience. I think the MA was definitely the best part of it for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it because also London is pretty hard to live in, I think. I mean, I find it as a city is pretty...
Yeah, it's quite, it's complicated, especially when you are a student because you don't have money. You live in one of the most expensive places. And but it's challenging because you're spoiled with exhibitions, with people you can meet, events you can attend. But I think sometimes this can also be very stressful because you think you need to do all of it.
Yeah, there's always this feeling in London where like it's like
Yeah.
there's never... I think I have nothing planned for the week, and then suddenly at the end of the week I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so tired
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like I don't know what, but like I feel like there's always 1,000 things to do.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
And you were so these first years you worked on the while doing the BA, if I'm not wrong, is the project Diachronicles. Is that right? Well, there's a first one actually. I got it noted down. I can't find it. Is the Atlas of Survival? Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that the first?
No, so when I was during the BA, I did like a lot of really bad university projects. Just like trying things out and stuff. I did this one book that I think it was really cute about my great grandma. I have it here, I think, if you want to have a look. And I really enjoy the process because like they teach you how to make the book, and then like it was just about like her relationship with her father and her son who disappeared, and then so this book now I'm gonna return to it because it's actually gonna be connected to the next project I'm going to do next.
Wow, nice.
So it's good because it made sense to do it back then, but now I'm excited to like re-explore this like family history and actually make a nice like more mature like project out of it. And then during the MA, I did that Atlas of Survival, which was like a sort of experiment, and it was connected to the history of Sicily and the hybridization of Sicilian culture through time. I never finished it. But it was a way to start exploring themes theoretically that then translated into the Diachronicles, which was the project I started at the end of the MA. So I graduated from the Royal College of Art with this project.
Which one? Atlas of Survival?
No, Diachronicles.
Diachronicles.
Diachronicles. And I had like 10 images. And then I carried with that project out after the MA for another like 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah, so it took a while to do it. Also during COVID, I didn't do anything at all because it was like, I don't know, it was like a weird time for everyone. But yeah, so I stopped for a year. And then I finished it in 2022.
Finished, official.
Completely.
Okay.
And then in 2023 I had exhibition, book published and everything. So now I'm ready to start working on the next one.
Okay.
Finally, yeah.
Okay, so it's pronounced Diachronicles. I was pronouncing in my head. I was saying Diachronicles, but I was trying to find the word. And then diachronics I found.
Yeah.
Well, what does it mean? Because I think I found the word diachronics, but I'm interested why, like, where's the name coming from?
So the name is a made up word, and is a mix between Diachronic and Chronicles, because the project is about how artifact generates and change through times in form and meaning, and how they shape a shared history of culture.
Okay.
In a way. So it's a mix of like diachronic, which means something that evolve, specifically the sense of like a language evolving, or so it gives you this sense of like something that like constantly transforming into something else. And chronicles is just like this idea of like a chronicle of event.
Okay.
So
can you explain me? Sorry, I didn't understand very well the diachronic. What diachronic exactly? So it's something that evolves.
Yeah, diachronic is something that evolves in meaning. So for example, is used in with language to describe like a word that change its meaning through time. So it's like a combination of these two words, and I liked it because the project looks like a collection of documentary black and white photographs, but is everything is staged, and is like the creation of this sort of like alternative world that looks like an archive but is a fantasy. So I wanted to have a name that was also like a fantasy name for it, basically. Okay. So like you're entering into this non-existent fake world.
But real looking.
Yes.
So the idea is that, like, because also when I read the title, I was like, oh, this sounds like some big word that I don't understand very well. Which is good. I feel like it has that kind of enigmatic side, and I feel like your pictures is the same. It's like there's something that pulls me in. Like I'm like,
thank you.
This picture is like, they have something there. I don't know what it is, which is I think that's the art. Like, I feel like is that in between them? Like there's something going on in this picture, but then it's difficult to say, oh, this is what's going on.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thank you. Yeah, the project is plays a lot with the idea of the forgery as a like the fake, like a fake artifact. When you have like like when you have an artifact and you think it's real, and then like you discover that it's fake. The project started thinking about this idea, the idea of creating a project that was a forgery of, like, was a forgery in itself, that was like a fake in itself, and that played a lot with the idea that we already have of what history might look like in pictures, because of the shared knowledge we have of documentary photography, especially the way in which it was used in the past when it was still black and white. And so you have a lot of very empty scenes, like there isn't a lot inside the images, because the work I did on the images was mainly deciding what I would take out from.
For example, if you like, is there an image that you can think of?
Well, the one that is the easiest example is I have this image of museum vitrine, because the project also like questions the museum as a space where you tell a story, because you decide what's going inside a museum vitrine and what is going into a basement of a museum and not inside the museum vitrine. So the idea was to completely empty out the vitrine and photograph it empty. So when you see the image as it's supposed to be seen, which is 1.5 meter by 1 meter, you see the dust of the object on the glass, but you don't see the object itself. And yeah, so it's all like about taking things out and leaving a few evidence in. So you're constantly, when you look at it, you're constantly searching for some sort of evidence or meaning or something that will tell you what happened, but you won't be able to find it because it's all
it's like a trick.
It's all about like not finding.
It's like a trap.
Yeah,
it's like
it
brings you in, but then you're like.
But it's like what photography is. It's like photography in itself is a trap.
What do you mean?
That you can't escape what's in the picture. So it's like a very specific point of view, a photograph, because it's
it's just it has literally 4 walls.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
There's limits. But what do you mean? It's like a trap?
Because you can't escape it in a way. It's like something that you can stare at for hours, but it's all in there, and if you're looking for answers outside of it, they're not gonna be there. So I think it was interesting for me to work on it, because I think in general, like when you think about photojournalism and documentary photography, now of course we have like a deeper understanding of fake news and how informations are manipulated, but sometimes when an image is very straightforward, like my images, they are very rigid. They might look very rigid, but I think like those images are the ones that are the most the ones that we should ask do you know what I mean?
Ask ourselves more questions.
About
No, I think it's very interesting, like the metaphor of the picture as a trap. Like I didn't think, but I mean you're right, like there's always this limited amount, and I think pictures work in the way of you imagine a life outside of that picture. So for example, I think when, for example, even Instagram, on like, I find it that like I look at a picture of someone, I'm like, oh my god, they're like, I'm sure they, and like I start imagining their lives according to just a very niche, or even if we're talking dating apps.
Exactly.
Not dating apps is literally like...
It's literally that. Yeah, dating apps and... exactly. Is interesting. It's all like about... giving an image of something that make people think that that's the reality, but...
Yeah, like there's something else.
There's something else, yeah.
How do you come up... Like... Do you imagine these scenes in your head, or is it like no? But I mean, it, like, you know what I mean. Like, it's not because they are such a very specific type of image that we're talking. It seems to be doing something but doesn't. How? So, what was the first one you took of this project?
The first one I took was a picture of a fake Greek statue that is part of the Salinas Museum collection, which is the regional archaeological museum in Palermo. So it was a very simple image, because at the beginning I was just interested in fakes. So I started by learning a little bit about these fakes that the museum had, and I took it, and then from there it developed into what it is now. But the process it was something very chaotic, because at the very beginning, when I started working on it, I knew that concept that I was interested in, but I wanted to make like a different project. I wanted to make a project about the discovery of a statue,
okay,
like the fake discovery of a statue.
the
So I
fake
wanted
discovery
to, I wanted
of a real statue.
of a fake statue. So
Okay,
I wanted
okay.
to reenact like a archaeological discovery.
Okay.
By collaborating with a 3D artist that I know, but I have the image which is now part of the series of the images. So one of the images of Diachronicles is actually a 3D render, which is a collaboration with this artist. So is completely like generated. So when I had like university deadlines, and he was working like freelancing, working full time. So it was really hard to work on it. So at some point, and I was like simultaneously taking photos of things that were kind of like related to the thing. And so at some point we kind of decided it wasn't gonna happen. And so that's when like I had like a few images to start with that were like talking about that, but in a wider sense. And I started thinking about the fact that actually like is a lot better to open it up. It was a lot better to open it up a bit and to talk about it in a broader way, to explore the theme, but from more of a distance.
Okay, so instead of, so you started, just to
I
clear, so you started with this idea of the.
So I started with a very specific idea.
How come you thought of that?
Because I was researching a lot in a place called the Warburg Institute, where they have a photographic archive which is very beautiful. And because I was writing my MA as dissertation, and there I found a section that was just about fake artifacts. And so it just like interested me, this idea of the fake, because some of these postcards or images at the back, they had the word fake written down on it, but with a
really?
but with a question mark at the end.
Okay.
Because till now people don't know yet, like they still don't know if that's like a real or a fake. So I don't know, it just like interested me, this theme.
I mean, I think it's interesting because when I was in art in high school, I found out that Michelangelo, I think it's thought to be, and I was checking actually before this interview, I think Michelangelo is thought to have taken, because at his time Greek art was very popular, or like, and so he would recreate this kind of art and then bury it and then make it look old and then resell it.
Ah, really? I didn't know.
So it's I like that the guy was like kind of scamming.
I don't know. I like. It's fascinating. It's like when you watch a Netflix documentary about people scamming other people. I don't know why. Like we are all fascinated with this kind of stuff. So this is how. So this is how it started. So it started from something very specific, and then he opened up, and then I do a lot of lists. So to go back to your questions, like how do you think about these things that you photograph, is I think about certain images that I know I want to shoot, and I have like this very clear vision of how they're gonna look like, and I write them down in a shooting list, and then I start with those ones, and then I allow myself to just like explore other places or have like suggestions from other people based on the list that I have. So then there is also a little bit of accident involved in it, and it's not like super structured, but yeah, more or less this is.
No, that's why I think the interesting is like, because I mean with documentary, I mean at least from my experience, sometimes you just stumble, or like you're kind of going in the place and then you see it and that is already there. But I think it's more interesting when you have to make it, that you have to actively imagine. And that's why I was quite interested in, and when you imagine these things, is it like a very rational thing of like, oh, I want to have this statue because I want to talk about this, or is it more like gut, like a gut feeling?
Yeah, no, it's a gut feeling. Yeah, it happens a lot while like listening to music. Like I listen to music and I have like I write a lot in my phone, like the notes app on the phone, and I just like write things down of things I want to take, and then they develop into images basically. Not all, like it doesn't make sense immediately sometimes, so then I have to like find a way to for it to make sense.
What do
But
you mean?
I do like a little bit of research like a lot of research actually up front, and then while I'm photographing I still researching sometimes to see how things like can fit, and if something like fits, or if I should drop an idea, or but I guess like a lot of people work like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To be fair, I mean, same thing. Like I even here, like I do my research, but then it's like I feel like the best is also to just let it go and like kind of see where it
Where
takes
it
you.
takes you, yeah.
I wanna, because I think it was quite interesting also the way this text you have on the book with David Company kind of talks about this idea of explaining the work. Um, is it is it is it annoying, or is it like or do you like, I don't know how to say it, like because your work walks in kind of this thin line of like in between, I don't know, the explicable and not explicable. That's why I'm interested in the how you come up with it. I mean, you when you had an exhibition, do the images come with like some form of explanation or like text?
um They have titles, but usually I place the titles in a place where you have like all the introduction test and credits of some images. Then you have like the numbers next to each image when you go around the exhibition, and then you have the titles. So you kind of understand more or less like what they are, but no, I don't like explain image by image. Usually, like with a text.
Mm-hmm. And what's your hope when, or I don't know if you think about it, but like what do you hope people get from it? Do you expect something, or is it like I don't care? It's not like they work and that's it. They work for me.
No, yeah, definitely. My hope is that when people see them, because there are some images that are quite, they seem very documentary. Like there is an image of hands wrapping,
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, yeah.
like wrapping something in plastic, or there is another one of, yeah, like the statue being transported. So those ones are more like, if it would be just that part of the that you would see, you would be like, okay, this is like some sort of documentary of some sort of something. But then you also have some images that are more surreal, like an image of an artifact wrapped in some like silvery fabric inside a box, which is like you look at it and you can tell there is a staged image, or the image of the empty vitrine that I was talking about before. So I think when you look at the work, after a bit you understand that there is something going on that isn't right, that you're looking at something that is staged. And I think like my hope is that once you think that, then you're also interested to discover more of the why like I made it and the reasons behind it. But I don't know, maybe like for everyone is different when you go and see a show. But this is my hope, that yeah, you start questioning, and then maybe you go and you read a little bit about it, and then you're like, okay, this is what it is about. Yeah.
When you show because you won the national, was it Luigi Ghirri prize?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a national Italian it's a national prize, but like it's huge. It's pretty huge award. How was it coming? I feel like it's like I don't know. It's like the thing of like, but like coming back to Italy and kind of showing in a big show.
Yeah, it was great. I'm really grateful to have won that because first of all, like the people that organized the whole thing, which is called Giovane Fotografia Italiana, is I'll say it slower for non-Italian.
Yeah.
It's called Giovane Fotografia Italiana. Is during Fotografia Europea in Reggio Emilia, and the people who organize it are Ilaria Campioli and Daniele De Luigi, and they are so good their job because they get a lot of, especially like in the past few years, they are getting a lot of applications, and they look at them very carefully, etc. And they are always. So the first step is like you show your work in this art fair festival in Reggio Emilia. 7 people are selected and they show it, and then and then one person win the award, and from last year you show it all as a solo show at Triennale, which is a very nice space in Milan. Very beautiful, and they help you through the whole process with the installation and the communication with the Triennale, etc. So it was a really nice experience, especially because a lot of people could see the work in its entirety, because it was the first time that I was showing the whole of it instead of fragments of it.
Okay.
So yeah, I enjoyed it basically.
Your family go and see it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, because I feel like that's part of the nice thing of showing back home is that I don't know, my grandma can go and see
my work.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It was great. A lot of my friends, yeah. And this year it's gonna happen again, I think, in January. Yeah, this the solo show of at the Triennale for this award. The next person that won the award, she's gonna have a solo show there this year too. So
amazing.
I hope I will go and see it.
Yeah.
And
how was it? So I think it's quite interesting because in the way Italy, I don't know. Do you feel like Italy is also kind of doing a bit more work in terms of, because you said when you were growing up, the main references were older people, and I feel like in Spain and Italy there's a bit of a thing over like, yeah, it's mostly older artists, and kind of until you don't have some respect somewhere else, then coming back is difficult or like being shown. But I think it's quite interesting. How do you find that?
I think, so first of all, I grew up in Palermo, which I think is very different than growing up in Milan. But I think in the past 10 years, Italy did a lot for, especially, like, I'm talking about photography because I don't know specifically, specifically about other forms of art, but I think Italy did a lot and does a lot for to promote young artists. There are a lot of festivals, there are a lot of open application to show work, portfolio reviews, there's interesting exhibitions happening in different cities. Fotografia Europea is quite good.
Yeah, I've heard it. Is it in Torino?
Is in Reggio Emilia.
Reggio Emilia.
Camera.
The institute, no? In the museum in
the Center
Torino.
of Photography in Torino, which is also quite nice. They do a lot of exhibitions of renowned artists, but they also do interesting ones in the project room. And so I think like in general, Italy is great for photography. Yeah. I think is very productive. If you're a photographer, I think it's a good place where to be.
Yeah. I also know Cortona has a festival.
Cortona
has a pretty big festival. I think it's great to see, because I feel like probably another Italian, maybe in Palermo or something, that will grow up and see, okay, oh, someone from my town did this big exhibition. I don't know, I feel like it's nice to have
Yeah, it's nice.
kind of younger references.
And in Palermo there are a lot of artists that are based there, but I think in Palermo the problem with Sicily is that unfortunately we are not really good at investing European fundings as well as they are in Emilia Romagna or Lombardia or Tuscany, for example. It's really sad, but yeah, we need to wake up in the south of Italy, I think. Yeah.
And I mean, no, I think something also that is interesting of this project is that I feel like, again, this relation of Italy to art and classical art and kind of, I don't know how to say, like, I feel like Italy is kind of like, I don't know, like, has a lot of older art and yeah, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going with this. I mean, I think it's interesting you work with museums to do this project. How was that?
To work with museums?
Yeah.
It was
like were they interested in this or like?
it was quite easy in Italy. It was very kind of like easy because you just fill up some forms. You have to be very specific about what you want to photograph and how you're gonna photograph it, and they let you in. I shot in Palermo mainly, so it's easier than like bigger institutions in the north, I guess. In the UK, I asked for permission to use X-rays images from the British Museum and the National Gallery. Like you have to pay for it, obviously, because it's like you pay for the right of reproduction. But it was way more like, it was completely different approach. They are very like rigid, very they don't want to give you stuff unless like,
oh really, yeah,
like you pay for it. Or yeah, even to shoot inside these places is really complicated. Like if it's like for commercial purpose, even you need to go through like curators that will meet up and decide if whatever you want to do inside their museum is worth their time or not, and or if like it's good for the collection that you're interested in or not.
So subjective. Sounds very subjective.
Yeah, it's really hard to shoot and like if you are accepted to shoot, you pay a lot of money. Like it's so expensive to pay.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny because I thought it'd be cheaper being a public.
Yeah, no, it's not cheap at all.
Really?
So it was a complete, like in Palermo, I could like touch things. Obviously, like
they were like, yeah, go in.
Yeah.
Get in the room, do whatever you want.
Exactly. Obviously, like I was careful, but they were like, yeah, of course, let's put this thing on the floor and let's wrap it in this like fabric and interesting.
But in the UK, no.
No,
the UK
no,
was
no.
like, was it like 3 policemen next to you or what?
No, in the UK I couldn't photograph because I submitted an application to photograph something inside a museum. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was the British Museum, and they were like, no, basically.
No, I mean I love the X-ray image of the cat.
Yeah.
It's a cat, right? But it's a fake.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a fake cat. Oh, from Egypt or?
It's a fake Egyptian statue of a cat. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the X-ray again. It makes it. It's like, what am I looking at? Like, why does it look like this way? And have you received any? Has the museum been interested? The one in Palermo, or like in your work afterwards, once it came out?
Yes and no. Yes, I have a really good. I build a really good relationship with the directors of these museums, which is good. We tried at some point to organize an exhibition there, but it was complicated because of the fundings and stuff. So, yeah, it would be nice to show this work back in Palermo because I never showed anything in Palermo. yeah, as you say, like it's nice to show something in your hometown, because then your grandma can come and things like that. But it hasn't happened yet because, yeah, it's trickier if you want to do it through an institution.
Yeah, it feels like you made it. If you show it in your own time,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I made it back.
Exactly.
I went and I made it back.
I feel like I have to wait until I'm dead, and then
Yeah, that's why
will.
I say in Italy. I feel like
Yeah.
that's what you're gonna be dead, and then 100 years, and then people be like, actually,
Yeah.
Giulia's work. It's actually. Did your grandma see your work?
Yeah, she has it framed in her living room.
Really? Which one?
Yeah. The statue of from the museum.
Yeah.
And a stone, an image of like a stone piece. Yeah.
Did she choose it, or was more like?
She chose it. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What does she? Do you know what she likes about it?
I have no idea. She just likes it.
I mean, I think that's the whole point. Also, I feel like. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. I feel like we can talk endlessly again about these pictures, but like I feel like at the end of the day, there's something about them that brings you in, and yeah, and as you say, you don't want to leave the trap.
Yeah, thank you.
But I mean, I think that's all good unless.
Yeah.
I mean, are you working in any? Unless you want to talk about something that you're gonna be working on soon, or you have anything. Or showing anything. You have the book.
I have the book.
The book is being sold online.
Yeah, the book is selling, which is good.
What's the print? The
Witty Books. Tommaso Parrillo.
Witty Books. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very, and he was designed by Nicola Spolli. Who,
yeah, it's a beautiful cover.
Yeah, it was great to work with them. They are really nice people. Yeah, now I did last year in October. I shot a commission in New Zealand for a company called Gella.
Okay.
They build tunnels everywhere in the world, and they did the same project, which was curated and is curated by Alessandro Dandini, who is an artist and curator and writer based in Rome. And they published this book with quod libet called Di roccia fuochi e avventure sotterranee, and then they did an exhibition at the Maxi Museum, and now we are working on the second publication, which should be out, I guess, around January or February 2024.
Oh, great.
So I'm working on the editing of this book, and next year I hope I will start working on my new project, but yeah,
amazing.
It's too early to talk about it because I'm still researching about it.
Of course. Well, I mean, that sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to see this publication because I think I read in some interviews we were talking about this New Zealand job.